Yes. That's amazing. Wow. Wow. Good name too. Good name.
Hey.
Hi, all the way from Canada. Good to see you.
Oh, really? Canada? What part of Canada?
I'm in Edmonton, so
I'm not allowed in Canada.
really?
Yeah, they
Oh,
escorted me out. There was
yes.
a there was a little incident.
You're gonna have to tell me more about this incident.
Well, it made world news. My 25-year-old son recently moved to China, and he messaged me and said, "Dad, I turned on my computer today, and you were trending in China."
See, it must have been good. What's were you
Oh, it was fabulous. It literally made world news. It went viral for a little bit.
what part of the country were you in?
I was in Ontario, Canada. So
Hmm.
I'm so this is the thing. Am I just not allowed in Ontario, Canada,
Oh
or
no, it's
all
the whole it's
right?
likely the whole thing.
And I just don't want to. I don't want to find out. Is the thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, that I got kicked out of the other Canada.
Yeah, it's a totally different Canada over here.
Totally different Canada.
Try again. But well, obviously not right now. But imagine, like, do you have to
Well,
like
me now.
how do you find out? Do you call somebody or you're like, hey, is it
Oh
okay if I
no!
come in?
All I know is they told me to leave and never to come back.
There's gotta be a limit on that. We're a nice country. We can forgive.
You would think there is. And that's what I was thinking too. I said, Canadians are pretty nice. And I didn't really break that guy's knees and I didn't really drown him at the river.
Yeah, that sounds like something you might get kicked out for just a little bit. But I thought you guys were playing in my city not too long ago, within the last 5 years, but maybe not.
Yeah, no, I was playing Canada all the time
Yeah.
until the incident this year.
This year.
Oh, yeah, it was recent. I recently got kicked out of Canada. And this was after. Okay, so not only did I fly 6 hours from California to New York State, but then I drove 3 hours into Canada. So altogether, I traveled 9 hours and 3,000 miles to get kicked out of Canada.
Well, that's a waste of your time.
No, I thought that was very productive. And I did get to play the show. It just
Really?
seems that, yeah, it seems that the guy, and I do this every week. I hop on a plane and I fly somewhere. I don't know where. Well, I kind of know, but I try not to know. And I land on a Thursday and I play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And as soon as the show is over on Saturday, I go to the airport and I'm out of there. And I'm home by noon on Sunday. And this is every week for 12 years, nonstop.
That works really well when you're a dad.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, in fact, the majority of the times, my wife and my son come with us. But there's some places, during certain months that, my wife, who was born in California, decides that she never wants to be there during December, like Canada.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be here in December.
Place, but because it's really cold.
Absolutely. Trust me, I would rather be somewhere else in January than here.
California. Like right now,
that's right.
It's 85 degrees.
Oh, wow.
As soon as we're done with this, we're going to the beach.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
It's wonderful. And what's great is I've had the last 7 months off. Now, again, I've been doing shows nonstop since 2008, 125 shows a year. And I'm talking around the world. So one weekend I would fly into Canada, play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Another weekend I'd fly to Florida, play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Another weekend I'd fly to Europe and play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No sense to where I'm going, because it doesn't matter, right? Because I come back home every Sunday, so it doesn't matter where I fly. Same couple hours in the plane, so you can just randomly, go in any direction. And we try to avoid the winter months, but sometimes we don't do the math right. And so it happened. So this incident recently in Ontario, Canada, which I believe was February. Again, February. I wasn't doing the math of the.
Oh no, you were not.
And not only did I travel all those hours to get thrown out of Canada, but it was a huge blizzard, covered everything in snow. I woke up in the morning like, holy shit. I leave California and it's 90 degrees. And then I wake up in Canada, there's 4 feet of snow out. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, and when it's cold in Ontario, it's worse than it is here because it's humid there. It's way worse.
The thing that I miss the most is breathing in the winter and all your nostril hairs freezing. Try to explain that to somebody that lives in California.
It's literally painful to breathe through your nose
hair freezes.
It's true.
How many times in your life have you walked outside with wet hair because you were late and you had to take your shower, of course, in the morning?
Crunchy. Immediately. And it happens to me at least once a year where I crunch my hair.
I lived in Buffalo, New York, half of my life until I was 25. So I lived with this all the time. And back then, I had hair. I had super long hair, so it was probably at least as long as yours. And I'd have that problem every morning, going to high school. You take the shower in the morning, you leave, and your hair is wet and it's frozen by the time you get to school. And this was just part of your life.
Thaws out when you walk in the door, and it's all.
And you accepted it. You accepted it, like, oh yeah, this is the part of the year where my hair freezes for the next 6 months.
This can't be good for our hair. It just can't.
But we accepted that for our entire life. And then one day when I was 15 years old, my mom flew us to San Diego in March for a little 2-week family vacation, me and my mom. And we had left this horrible blizzard in Buffalo, New York, and we land in San Diego, California. And next thing I know, I'm at the beach on cliffs going through tide pools in March. My hair is not frozen. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing?
Why aren't we here all the time?
And I got the old, it's our roots. This is where our family lives. It's where our roots are. No, no. So I got my car when I was 25 for one reason. I'm in Buffalo, New York, and I'm a bum. Okay, I'm living at my mom's. I'm drinking. I'm in a crappy band called Green Jello, and life is drunk and stupid. And one day I was just like, you know what? I am so embarrassed to borrow $20 from my mom every Friday and every Saturday so I could go out drinking, looking cool. I said, I got to get me a job. And so I just bought paper. I'm looking through it, and I see this ad in which most people will just they'll just not even look at it, and they'll continue their life. I saw an ad in the newspaper that caught my attention. It said auditions for the Gong Show. It was a game show from the that you purposely went on and you made an ass of yourself. And then they had one token talented person who would win the game. But they would have, 10 jackasses.
Mm-hmm.
And they would win some turtle wax or some Lee press-on-nails. And then the winner guy would get some sort of hotel in some stupid town like, I don't know, Reno. Well, I should say Reno. Some sort of town in America, and they have this little mini vacation. So most people would just not even pay attention to that. But me, here I am looking for a job. Mm-hmm. and the thing that catches my attention is the ad to make an ass of yourself on TV. So I give them a call. Hello.
Nice phone. Very nice phone.
Thank you.
Please tell me that has a rotary dial on it. No way.
And even better, okay? This is the part. This is the part that's going to blow your mind. Because I live in Hollywood, that's the phone from the set of Married with Children.
No way.
Yes way. Next time you see the show, you look and you're going to see it's the same show, the same phone.
That's great. That is great. Okay. So you picked up the phone.
So I call them up and I tell them I have this crappy band named Green Jello that sucks. And people throw food at me and give me the finger. And I have terrible songs after farm animals called Obey the Cow God or Rock and Roll Pumpkin or three little, just ridiculous songs. And they said, oh, wonderful. Meet us at the Debbie Reynolds studio Wednesday on Lakersham Boulevard in North Hollywood for your audition. I was like, what? So I didn't tell them I lived 3,000 miles away. Right? I was just calling up. I saw the number. Yeah, I was stoned, whatever, drunk from the night before. And all of a sudden, I have an audition in Hollywood, California. So I did what any normal person at 25 would do. I got in my car and I started driving. 5 days. Okay. I had no idea how far it was. I never really left Buffalo except for that one time with my mom in the plane. That was only a couple hours, right?
Right.
A couple hours. How far is it in the car? 5 days later, I'm trying to get up the Rocky Mountains with my crappy car from Buffalo, New York. You know, the rust bucket, right?
Yes.
The one that barely runs.
Yes.
I've been driving this thing for 5 days, and now I'm going to attempt to go over the Rocky Mountains with this. All right. Now, again, I'm from Buffalo, New York. There's a couple hills. Mountain. Yeah. Mountain is just the next thing higher than a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be that big. Boom! There goes my engine, blows up.
Oh no.
In some little town in Colorado called Silver Plum, Colorado. Okay? There's a post office and like 4 houses. That's it.
Worst place ever to break down.
Yes. And I'm on the top though. I mean, I made it all the way up, but my car's blown up. So now I'm fucked. I've traveled all this way. I'm down to like whatever my last $100, $200, right? Because I didn't mathematically plan my trip. And now I'm stuck. And to come get a tow truck to bring me down, and to a shop. I can't. What am I going to do? I can't fix it. And I'm almost to California, and we're talking the next day is my audition, and I'm going to miss it. And that's when I realized I was on the top of the mountain. All I had to do was glide all the way down, right? Now I could glide all the way down to Denver, or I could glide all the way down to Los Angeles. And I did. And I putted my way inch by inch sometimes, literally. And I made it on time. I got there 4 p.m. Wednesday. They had no idea.
How does it do that?
Aliens.
Of course. My word.
I get there with my pumpkin outfit, okay, which is just a plastic pumpkin basket, you know, for trick or treat, that I've cut a hole in it and I've put it on my head. And I have this yellow rain suit from living in Buffalo, right? Just a common thing. Yeah, I got a rain suit. They don't have rain suits here in California. But anyways, so I got this yellow rain suit and this Halloween bucket that I got on my head. And I give them my cassette of the song and I lip sync, which is not very hard when you got a plastic Halloween bucket on your head. And I got on the show.
Just like that.
Just like, they're like, great, you're on the show.
Yes.
I just got to Hollywood and I was on TV. National TV. Everybody made fun of me. I thought you were looking for a job. Now you're driving to California to be on a game show to make an ass of yourself? Yeah. Logical sense to me. And so I get on the show, and of course I get gonged. And that was the purpose. Like I told them, I said, I'm here to be humiliated. I'm here to prove to the world that I have the worst band, because somewhere in the future, okay, because this is 1987. And I'm saying to myself, somewhere in the future, someone is going to claim that they themselves have the worst band in the world. And then I'm going to come along and say, no, I made that up first. And then nobody will believe me. So I went 3,000 miles in a rust bucket crappy car to prove that I have the most terrible band in musical history. Now, in the year 2020, there's a zillion people claiming they have crappy bands. No way. I have the footage. You can go on YouTube and press Green Jelly, Rock and Roll Pumpkin, Gong Show. And you will see that in 1987, I have documented proof that I, in fact, own the world's worst band. And I got the Lee press-on nails to prove it.
Yes. And please, they're in there, aren't
now,
they?
I see this cabinet behind me that I'm opening the door. You see this?
Yes.
Now,
I see.
I live in a toy store on Hollywood Boulevard, and you can see some random things behind me because I am completely insane.
This is great.
And I saw that movie True Romance. You ever see that movie True Romance?
Yes, you bet.
And what's Christian Slater? He lives in the comic book store, right? That's a movie. This is real life. I live in a goddamn toy store.
Wow. Okay, so you're
on Hollywood Boulevard.
I was going to say right on Hollywood Boulevard.
Right on Hollywood Boulevard. But see this right here. I'm going to show you just to verify everything. This is my Kiss lunchbox that I had as a little kid in 12th grade in high school.
Wow.
And inside of it,
there, the Lee press-on nails.
Lee press-on nails.
That's incredible. Oh, wow.
In the same box as my sold-out concert ticket from Prague, Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And my security card badge.
Plant protection.
For when I worked on NBC, the network,
mm-hmm.
and I was the guard at the Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
How long did you do that for?
Long enough to write the Three Little Pigs song.
Really?
Yes, I wrote the song while I was a guard at NBC, sitting bored off my ass.
And that's where it came from.
Yes, because I got here, I won the Lee press-on nails, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which I have. This is not a lie. I
That's
have
amazing.
the Lee press-on nails in my possession. But now, as you remember from the story, my car is blown up.
Mm.
I can't get back home. So I gotta go get I gotta get a job.
Mm-hmm. There it was.
And that job, I wrote that song that sold 25 million copies.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So if I never hang on, this is my son Chaos Diablo. Say hi.
Hi, Chaos. I'm Naomi.
Yes, Chaos. What's your question?
Your car never blew up.
My car never blew up. Well, this was before you were born.
Oh.
This was another. You're thinking about another time that you were on tour with Daddy.
I bought an old car, like a car we have right now.
No, not our car. It's not. It's come in to correct my green Jello story.
It's adorable.
Telling me what I was saying was a sham.
It's not true, Daddy. This never happened.
Oh, he's growling in the other room. What's the matter, Chaos? Everything's good. Don't worry.
So.
Oh, hang on. I'm just looking for one more last thing.
Okay.
So, not only, let's recap. Not only in the box is the Lee press-on nails and the security guard job at NBC that wrote me the Three Little Pig song, but also my ticket to the Grammy Awards because I was nominated for a Grammy.
It's so true.
Okay, so let's back this story up.
Okay.
If Buffalo wasn't freezing my nose hairs and freezing my hair on my head, I would have never drove 3,000 miles to make a jackass out of myself to later on be the guard for Jay Leno and then walk away with Lee press-on nails at the Grammy Awards.
At the Grammy Awards.
Aliens.
But you guys, when you were playing, did you put the band together while you were there in Los Angeles?
Yes.
With all your players?
Oh, yeah.
How did you find them all?
I threw a rock. I hit 20 of them in the head.
You guys are in.
Yeah, you guys are in. Which that's wonderful because that leads me to the next one.
Mhm.
Because I have the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's largest band in music history. Right now, I have over 1,000 band members around the world.
Once they've played with you, they're officially in.
Yes.
They're in the band.
Until they get kicked out.
And then when you go tour to that city again, hey, you just call them up. It's
Yes. Yes, exactly.
brilliant.
And what's great about it, so I discovered this in 2012 because now at this point, I had been in my band since 1981, all the way to 2012, and I've had random people in and out, but I've basically had steady bands.
Mhm.
And what I was finding out is that they're annoying. Okay, now I know why my favorite bands fell apart. You know, the guitar player, he's a drunk. The bass player, he's an asshole. The drummer cheats on his wife. Okay, and you got to tolerate this.
Mm-hmm.
So you're having the greatest time for 1 hour on the stage, but the 23 other hours with these fucking people, you want to gouge your eyes out. You're like, how are you that ignorant? You got 4 kids at home. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things that annoy other people in the band, and you just don't want to do it anymore, and then you no longer value that hour stage time, and they're done. So what I've done with this is I've recruited actual fans. These kids were 10 years old, 13 years old in the 90s, and they bought that record.
Yes.
And back then, people were giving me this hard time, you know, because music was different then. And I came out with this really crappy band and songs really easy to play. And I was trying to explain to people, it's like, I want this to be easy. I want it so a 10-year-old sees it and is influenced by it, and they can play it, and they themselves can say, hey, I can sing that, or hey, I can play that part on the drums, or I can play that riff on the guitar, because it was that simple.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want this complicated stuff that confused the kid. I wanted him to say, wow, I can do this too. And nobody really got it back then in the early 90s, what I was trying to do. And now, you know, 20, 30 years later, these people are adults. And that song, The Three Little Pigs or Obey the Cow God, that was their first song that they ever played because it was the easiest. So now they know these songs forwards and backwards. So why not recruit them into the band, make them a band member of their favorite childhood band? Right?
I think it's pretty brilliant.
And then give them the moment. So now that 1 hour stage time, you know, I've done this since 1981, since I was in 12th grade. We're talking 40 years. All right. I've had my moment, okay, over and over again. And it's fantastic. I love the moment. But the ability to give that moment to a fan who dreamt of that, and you give that to them for 3 days, a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, and then you're traveling with them for the 23 hours. You're sleeping at their house, you're meeting their dog, you're going to their family house, and they're telling you the story. This is my bedroom where I set my drums up and I played to my stuffed animals and pretend that I was in Green Jello at 10.
Yeah.
Now all the time. The hour stage is valuable. The 23 hours to get to the show. Okay, every moment is great because you're having these experiences with a new group of people every single week. And that same experience with the same group of people, well, some people have different ways of life and they have different ways of beliefs and doing things. And sometimes, you know, after 100 shows, you still get along with the person, but most likely you don't. So now this way,
Yep.
we're talking 3 shows. And so if I play 3 shows, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Florida, and then next week I play 3 shows in Canada, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the Canada band doesn't give a rat's ass about the Florida band. They don't care that last week Tim puked all over himself and lost his car, and Dave forgot his drums.
Yeah.
They don't care. But if you have a consistent band that you're bringing along every single, like, oh yeah, you know, last week you were an asshole and I'm still mad. You know, you get all this grudge shit. All right.
Mhm.
So now the 23-hour travel time. Look at what a gorgeous day out. Look at this.
Oh,
You see that?
yes.
Look at that sky.
Beautiful. Yep. Yeah. I wish I could be there.
That's Hollywood Boulevard, right here. That's and
Love
you
it.
know what's really great. Now, again, just so you know that I'm not making up this stuff. Look behind me. There's my
Yes.
store. It's backwards. It's
Oh.
backwards because of the camera, but it says Sacred Farts.
It's actually not backwards.
Oh, it's not backwards for you?
No, it's good.
Oh, great.
It's right on. Yes.
Oh, so there you can see the storefront, right? So
See-
you know, so I'm not making that up.
So
And you
people
can
are
see-
walking in and they're going, what
See,
is
there's-
it going on in here?
Yep. Place.
I love it.
And then even better, watch this. Want to see who my next door neighbor is?
Mm-hmm.
The weed shop.
The greenhouse.
Right? I live right next door to the weed shop.
How does it
All
work?
right,
How does it work to get weed? Do they have to just bring like a medicine
You
card?
can just walk in.
Like Canada?
Yeah, you just walk in.
Oh,
Walk in, you
cool.
show them your ID. Don't care. They don't care where you're from, but you have to have ID.
Yes, of course.
But if you're from Canada, it's not a problem. Whatever.
Here you go.
Here you go. All the weed you want to buy.
Well,
You
here's-
can buy up to a half of a pound.
See, I didn't know that was happening in California. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. It passed, I think, the beginning of, was it this year or last year? It's been a while. It's been at least a year. And for a long time, God, probably since, I'm going to say 2005,
Mhm.
when it first started, you needed the doctor's, certificate.
Right.
And not a problem. And
There you
then
go.
just this, I think, yeah, actually, was it just this year they made it legal, and you could just go buy it. And the best part is the weed store is owned by my landlord, and he's like a 75-year-old little Armenian guy.
Nice. That's so great.
If I could have told my teenage self in 1981 that my shitty high school band would sell millions of records and that I would live in a toy store in Hollywood Boulevard next to a weed shop, oh my God,
That's a dream.
it is.
Dreams come true.
And I've literally had this debate with my teachers in high school who told me, Mr. Manspeaker, you will not be making a living making a jackass of yourself. They were wrong.
That's the thing.
And this all happened because I saw an ad in a newspaper.
It's
That's it.
It's like that movie, Yes Man. You just got to say yes and do things instead of being scared and saying, oh, I don't know. Just go and do it.
That is my favorite movie.
Right?
Yes.
You just got to do it.
Brenna. Hang on, I gotta. Can you verify something for me? Huh?
Just in case I don't believe him.
Yeah. No, she's too shy.
That's
But
okay.
Yes Man is one of my favorite movies of my entire life. That's so funny that you say that.
It's one of the best Jim Carrey shows there is.
Oh,
I love
my
it.
God. And it's all so true. That's the best part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And have you seen it a couple times? Are you familiar with it?
I've seen it, but it's been a few years since the last time I saw it.
Okay.
It's been out for over.
Because there's that scene where they're in the bar, and it's all wood inside the bar, and it's where he sees his girlfriend, and this is before he becomes a yes man. And he gets all embarrassed and he tries to run out, and he hits somebody, and all their drinks fly all over. But anyways, that bar is right down the street.
Nice.
Yeah, the whole movie was just filmed around where I live, so it's really funny.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's really true. It kind of made me think after watching it. I'm like, how many things have I missed out on because I was too afraid to go for it? Oh,
exactly.
no. You know,
that's all I do. I don't even think about it. I just do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, I'm on to the next thing.
Lesson learned.
You know, I have a few bands here and there, you know, that obviously, you know, didn't work out when I landed. One in particular was in Texas. And the one guy was just, I mean, he could have been a good drummer, but he was tripping balls on ecstasy, and he was bragging about it. Like, oh, the ecstasy's kicking in. And no matter how good he thought he was a drummer, he wasn't that night. Okay. And so I had to replace him because, you know, that's nice that you're tripping balls, but I still have to, you know, somewhat entertain these people. and you're not able to. So anyways, there's somebody else and they do the songs, and okay, you play the drums instead. That was 6 years ago. This guy's still complaining. And I'm like, dude, every once in a while, he'll change his Facebook thing, and, I'll get some random message. You screwed me over. You're an ass. I'm like, that was like 500 shows ago. All right. Let it go.
Yeah.
All right. Because I haven't thought about it since the second I left. Because I got other things that I'm doing. And here's these people that are obsessed on, choices that they didn't make 4 or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, yesterday. It's just like, are you kidding me? You're obsessing on something you could have done instead of doing something now? Just shut up.
This is something I need to hear because, like, I'm one of those people that, I've held grudges. And when you do that, it's only hurting me. Not anybody else.
It just consumes your energy. And the more negative that you put into your own life, the more negative result that you're going to get. And, I'm not any sort of anti anything. I'm not like, don't drink, don't party, believe this. I'm not one of those guys. But the only thing that I know that works, and it works because I do it for myself and only for myself, is you just go forward.
Yeah.
And the more positive energy that you're going to put into your life, the more positive things are going to happen. Because if you wake up in the morning and say it's a shitty day, it's going to be a shitty day because you are in control of your life.
This is good.
And you could have had the most wonderful day in your life. I could have continued to borrow the $20 off my mom, and I could have continued to drink, and I could have continued to be the big fish in Buffalo. I had my band Green Jello. We were playing there. People came and saw us.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have been that local dude. Or I could have stepped outside my little pond and seen what's next to me and what's next to that and next to that.
Yep.
You know, I'm a firm believer that the world is your home, and that the more that you own, the less that you actually get to do in your life.
It holds you back. It holds you down having stuff.
It does. Freedom is owning nothing.
Yeah. Nothing
at all. And I was a guy, okay? Now you can see, all right? Now this is a guy that's telling you, you know, freedom is owning nothing, right? Okay, you're seeing all this stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. Now this is just my front room, all right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who's telling you this, and I'm going to show you this right here. Now this is my main room. You see that wall?
Wow. So what you got in all of those? It's different.
150 boxes of toys.
All categorized.
That used to be. They used to be from the floor to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, where's the Diablo? There he is. That little boy right there.
Yes.
As he grew, he went from, you know, laying on the bed to sitting up to standing up. Well, when he entered the standing up part of his life, that went the first row of all my toys.
Huh.
And then as he got taller, went the second row, and then the third row. And then there was just one point where I was like, all right, it's all going in a box. But literally,
wow.
And my ceiling is 20 feet tall. I had 50 cases like this that you see behind me,
mm-hmm.
filled. And then above that, it was just, you know, unopened toys that went all the way up to the ceiling.
That's unreal.
And I could send you pictures of it later.
Yeah.
But it was, you know,
I
the
get
guy telling you not to own anything.
But I get the feeling that the only thing that you've taken with you is that Kiss lunchbox and whatever could fit inside of it.
It is true. Isn't that weird?
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and this is something else that's really cool. This over here, this horse.
Yeah.
I've had since I was 5.
Oh.
Since since my kid, since the same age.
Have you had to restore it at all, or is it pretty much in the same condition?
I take good care of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember the day I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas 1968.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's
I still have it, and all 3 of my kids have played with it.
But
yeah, so coming from a guy who owns a lot of things, you know, it's very strange to hear say, you know, the more you own, you do, you know, the less you do. But it's true, and I'm doing my best to. I'm starting to sell things off just so I can live by that a little bit more.
Mm.
Because last year, well, yeah, was it last year? Yeah. 2020 is really screwing me up. Last year, me and my wife and my son Chaos, we all randomly just moved to Prague, Czech Republic.
Really?
Yeah. and I mean randomly.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing the 3-day mini tour thing. And I had done Canada, and I've done all the United States, and I did all of Mexico, and I was just sort of on repeat, you know.
Mhm.
So one weekend I was like, I'm gonna get a little cocky. I'm gonna do a 3-day weekend in Europe. So I booked a show Thursday in Vienna and Friday in Germany and Saturday in Prague, Czech Republic. And I hopped on a plane and I flew for 16 hours. And I landed and I played the 3 shows. And when I went to Prague, I had played there in the 90s. And now I'm there again, but now I'm there on my own term. You know, I'm not in a hurry.
Mhm.
And so I took a time to look around the city, and it was just like the most gorgeous, most mysterious, mythical place I've ever seen in my whole life. Like
Oh,
everything there was hundreds of years old. There was nothing new at all. It
yep.
had been built in, the year 760. Okay, 767.
It's hard to fathom, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there it was, still functioning.
Mhm.
And so I got on the plane and I'm coming home because again it was a 3-day tour. And I messaged my wife and said, when I land, we're gonna start packing and we're moving. We're moving to Czech Republic because our little boy deserves to live in a place like this. And that was in November. And by April, we moved.
Mm.
And we lived in Prague, Czech Republic. And we had a gorgeous house, and I booked all these shows there.
Mhm.
So we played like 2 weeks of shows in Europe. And that generated enough cash for me to start living there. And I figured, hey, if I could tour US, I could tour Europe the same. I sold records there.
Probably
also.
even better in Europe to do touring.
Yeah.
Probably more people come out.
Yeah, and it's a totally different vibe.
Yep.
The people in Europe are really appreciative of music,
Mhm.
and especially live music. So we lived there. We had this gorgeous apartment. We played a bunch of shows. We wound up doing this huge rock festival in Sweden called the Sweden Rock Fest.
Mm.
And we played in front of good 7,000 people. And so we were doing real good. And as we were leaving the Sweden Rock Fest, and we were just driving around randomly in Sweden, checking stuff out, because we moved. We got that infamous statement, "Where are your papers?"
Ooh.
Oh, my papers. Yeah, here you go. My passport. No, your papers. That's it. This is your passport. Yeah. You are supposed to leave in 7 days. What? What do you mean? 7 days? But I leave in 7. But I live here. No, you just can't move to Europe.
I know. I guess you just can't really move wherever you want.
That's what they tell you in the United States, right? There's all this commotion right now about people coming into the United States illegally and blah blah blah, and everybody's making this big commotion and you're a terrible thing and how racist and all this commotion.
Mm.
The rest of the world doesn't allow you to move in there.
Every country, I think, has some kind of immigration law.
Yeah.
Every country.
Everyone but ours. So here I'm thinking I could just, I moved from Buffalo, New York to California.
I don't even know if people can just move to Canada either. I don't think so.
No, you can't.
No, all the papers have to be in place.
No. Yeah. The only place that you can get away with that is the United States.
But I need a green card to work in the United States.
Well, but you're not really gonna get kicked out. Right.
They're like, oh, you're from Canada? Okay, then.
See, they basically, the police basically said, well, you either leave or we arrest you and confiscate your passport and then kick you out.
How can they take your passport? It's that how? That's American and it belongs to you and it belongs to your country.
Well, yes, but they could take it away from me, making it invalid for me to be there.
But how do you get home?
Well, then they just kick you out.
Okay.
And then they give you back but then they give you back the passport. Or they seize it from you to okay, nope, you can't. You're done. And I'm like, oh, really? But my apartment. No, it's not your apartment. So we had to move back. And then what I found out, which wasn't that bad, is there's ways around it. So you can be there for 3 months. This is just Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to leave for 3 months, and then you can come back. So you can live there 6 months out of the year, but you have to leave 3 months of it. So I could have went to England and lived in London for 3 months, and then went back.
Okay.
For 3 months, and then just hop back and forth.
Got it.
Or, I could have got a visa, and that's what my son did. I have a 25-year-old son who had been on tour with me since he was 13, and God, it was like 2 years now, I think, if not 3. He just randomly said, "Dad, I'm going to move to China." And then the next month he left.
Does he play?
Yeah. And he's been living in China for the last 3 years. So he figured it out, how to stay a lengthy amount of time. But again, I didn't know, and my time was up, and they said get out. But my son decided that he wanted to move to China and skate. And so he got a skateboard endorsement, and now he flies around China and he skates in his skateboard.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he actually got
for it.
Yeah, he got a job being a skater.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess he learned from the best. He just went for it. There you go. That's the lesson we need people to learn today. Go for it.
Right? Yes. And see, and I had that same issue with Damien, because he was born in the early 90s. He was born 94. And so a lot of people had established ways of how you raise your kid. And, and here I am, traveling the world with them, exposing them to all this, stuff. And people are like, oh, you can't do that with a kid. You're going to mess him up and blah, blah, blah. And when he grows up, he's going to rebel against you. And he doesn't drink. He doesn't party. He lives in China. He started off as a school teacher there, and now he's a professional skateboarder.
Good for him.
Yeah, just again, what you just said, he just went for it.
Yeah.
Just didn't listen to the 99 reasons why he could not. First, 99 reasons of why you cannot be a professional skateboarder. And then another 99 reasons why you cannot move to China and be a professional skateboarder. I've always told people, if you just focus on that 1% chance, because there's no matter what there is in the world, nothing's 100% sure. But if you focus on that 1% chance of actually winning, and you don't get overwhelmed by the 99 reasons of why you're going to fail.
There you go.
You wind up having a box full of Lee press-on nails and a Grammy invitation.
It's beautiful. Tell me about your costumes over the years. How do you create them yourself?
Yeah. I've made every single one of them. And, the turning point again was probably, I'm going to say 5, 6 years old, just like my kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 60s, and I had single mom. We lived in a housing project. Things were a lot different back then, especially for women and jobs and working. So we weren't very rich. And Halloween, this time of year, we're talking 52 years ago, right about now, I wanted to be Snoopy for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this store-bought costume, and we couldn't afford it. Simple as that. So instead of my mom telling me that we were too poor and that I could not be Snoopy, my mom brought me home and she says, we're going to make you a Snoopy costume. And she got her wire coat hangers from the closet, and she bent them into weird little shapes, and she taped them together, and then she got some flour and some water, and she mixed it together, and she took some newspapers and she ripped them up, and she put these ripped up newspapers in the flour and the water. And I'm just like, Mom, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You're taking stuff out of the closet, you're ripping up paper, you're making a mess. And she took these newspaper shreds and she dipped them in the flour and the water paste, and she put them on the coat hangers. And I was like, what are you doing? And the next day when it dried, she got some white paint and she painted it, and it was instantly a Snoopy head. This clothes, clothes hangers and paper and muck has somehow turned into the head of Snoopy.
Yeah.
And she put that head on me. And all of a sudden, her and her friends were like, oh, Snoopy's here. Oh my God, somebody call Billy. Billy, Snoopy's. They all knew I was Snoopy. All right. I mean, I get it now, but suddenly, in my mind, they didn't. I disappeared and I became Snoopy.
That's the best.
And I was. They believed I was Snoopy. I believed I was Snoopy. I looked in the damn mirror and I was Snoopy. It was the most fantastic day of my life. Your first Halloween that you remember, this was mine.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 1968. And all of a sudden you fast forward this to 1981. And I'm in my mom's basement, and I got my friends over, and we're making up a punk rock band named Green Jello. And I get that microphone, Green Jello, and it was terrible. We first tried to do punk rock songs. We did Ramones, we couldn't do it. Sex Pistols, we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And we were just terrible. And so I was like, I got it. Let's do our own songs. And that way, nobody will know that we messed them up.
Perfect.
And then we started making it to our first song. Green Jello sucks. It was easy. Green Jello sucks. Green Jello sucks. Right?
Yeah.
Easy. But it was still terrible. So that's when I came up with Snoopy. We'll make costumes. We'll make costumes and we'll be terrible, and people can throw stuff at us and yell that we suck and give us the finger. I figured a whole way around me not having any musical talent. Now it was distraction.
Oh, wow.
So I came up with this idea. I'm gonna find out what day the cafeteria in high school is having green Jello, because they serve green Jello all the time.
Mm.
I get the date and I tell all my friends, and I drag in this PA that I rented from the local music store, and I drag it into the cafeteria and I plug it in real quick, throw down our instruments. I jump up on the lunch table. I drop my pants. Everyone give me the finger. Green Jello sucks. Green. And they're all chanting it, and they start throwing the food at me.
Nice.
This lasts about 30 seconds before the principal comes running down, rips me off the table, unplugs everything, and I instantly get thrown into in-school suspension. And it was that moment in my life that I knew my calling. I was going to be a jackass for the rest of my life.
This is brilliant.
And then you speed it up 6 more years to 1987. And I find the ad in the paper. And I drive to California to be on the Gong Show to prove I have the worst band in the world. So 3 critical things here.
Yes.
The Snoopy, 1968. The lunch table incident, 1981. And the infamous Lee press-on nail scandal of 1987.
It all set
Without those 3 moments, without these 3 moments, we would not be talking. And I would be at work right now, and I would be saying this. Welcome to Walmart. I love you. Welcome to Walmart. I love you. Welcome to Walmart. I love you.
You were never going to let that happen. Let's be honest.
In an alternative universe, yes, I am working at a Walmart. But this one, I'm living in a toy store on Hollywood Boulevard.
So great. Oh.
Aliens.
What happens with the costumes? And then there's another band called Guar.
Yes, 1985.
Did you develop a relationship with this band at some point?
Yes, purely by accident. In 1989, they happened to be playing in Hollywood. And I had a friend of mine who was in a local gore band called Haunted Garage. His name was Dookie Flyswatter.
That's the best.
Oh, yeah, they were a wonderful Hollywood band. They were huge. And Dookie Flyswatter brought Guar to my show on a Wednesday night. And I was playing a little bar on a Wednesday, probably 22 people there. And he brought Guar there. This is before anybody even knew who they were. It was their first record, Hello. And after the show, this hefty bearded guy in overalls came up to me and was like, "Your band just like ours." I was like, great. And he proceeded to tell me that he was from Virginia and was in this band called Guar, and they were a lot like ours. And he was happy to see that there was another band doing similar stuff. And he invited me to the show. And so I went and saw his show the next day. And I'm going to say they had a little bit more than us, maybe 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
But they had made their stuff out of rubber latex. And here I'm making my stuff still out of wire. and paper mache. So the Snoopy thing never really stopped. It began again in '81, and I made the paper mache stuff, and that traveled with me all the way through Buffalo. And then when I got in the car, drove to Hollywood, and I started playing here, same thing, paper mache and chicken wire, and that lasts maybe 2, maybe 3 shows, and I'd have to build them again, but it was really no big deal. So they had this thing called rubber latex, which was basically the same thing that I was doing, but instead of taking ripped up pieces of newspaper and dipping them in the flour and water, they were ripping up pieces of white sheets, like bedding. Huh. And then they were taking that and they were dipping that into liquid latex. And then they would apply it on a foam sculpture that they made out of couch cushion foam. And I was like, oh my God, same technique, but different materials.
Yeah.
So then I started garbage picking foam. You know, anybody threw out a couch, I would grab it and steal the foam, because foam, you know, there wasn't like a foam store.
No.
Well, not one that I found yet. And so I was doing this technique for a while. And I did that all the way up until 2008. So from 1989 to 2008, almost 20 years, I was just using the foam and rubber latex technique. And basically they were doing this, like I said, they were doing the same thing, but you know, it's a little different. They were more sculpting their foam. You know, they would carve it out of clay, you know, whatever they wanted, and then they would make a cast, and then they would make this 2-part foam that they would inject into the cast, and then they would apply the latex. And so that was just way too complicated for me. Again, I like simple.
Mm-hmm.
So I just broke it down into just getting the foam itself, and I would cut the shapes with scissors and I would glue them on. You know, so I skipped the whole carving it out of clay and making the mold. I tried, but it was just too much for me. And it shows a lot more detail when you do it, but when you're at a bar and everybody's drunk and they're moshing, they don't see the detail in the cow head, you know, they just see the shape. So I didn't really think I needed the detail. So I just started making foam sculptures out of it with scissors and gluing them and then putting the rubber latex over it. And that worked for 20 years. And then when I was on tour in 2008, you know, a fan who was a little kid who had now had his own child brought